What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome, 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 welcome. We are looking at the S&P, which currently sits at 505.34. If I sound like I have a not a massive, I have a lisp, it's because I recently got Invisalign. I will get better at speaking over the next couple of days, hopefully. But I literally got it today. So, a long time coming, something that I probably should have gotten done a long time ago after my first orthodontist debacle, but we're back on it, 18 months, and we're dialed in, and then we'll be done. So, hope you guys are doing good. What's going on, Flippa? We are ready to go. We have Tesla earnings. Tesla, let's go. This is a big one. This is actually a big one because everyone's kind of like, oh shit, what was it? So, Tesla's been down a lot. Simple as that. It's been down a good bit the past, I don't know, couple of months, weeks, years, you name it, because you just jump back on the bigger time frames and you look back to the highs that were put in, and then you zoom out further and like, oh, well, keep going back. You got to go back to November of 2021 for the high of Tesla to be put in, north of $400, which is pretty far away, right? So it's got a lot of attention. It is in a downtrend. If you were to say, what now? My thought is be careful because it's down a lot. Does that mean it can't go down more? No, it's down a lot. So potentially, and you just had a big breakdown a couple of days ago, that could provide or set you up for, this being potentially pricing in some of the move. So we'll see. I forget exactly how much options are pricing in for the move, but either way, it's going to be a big move. Either Tesla's got to get back up like 160 to 165, or it's going to have to drop down like under 130, 125, ideally for more. So we'll see. We'll be there for it, and we'll hang out, and we'll see what happens. So otherwise, it is a decently green day in the market. Most things are up. Actually, jets down. Believe it or not, one of the stronger sectors, airlines. The S&P is at 1.12. QQQ up 1.6, and the Dow or DIA is up 0.6. The Russell IWM up 1.72, and kind of just off the bottom of this now, an arbitrary range that I drew in, but off the bottom of that area, which is more of an area than anything else, it's bouncing. So cool. You have, area that was resistance multiple times. You broke above it, pulled back, pushed up, now pulling back. Ideally, roll through here and go. If we do not, and we roll back over, that would not be a great look. If that's what ends up happening, that would not be a great look, and I would actually be thinking, bigger picture, probably down towards the bottom of this range would be our next bigger picture look. So that would be if 190 goes. If we break below 190 on the Russell, it won't look great. So we'll see. We'll watch that one closely, and we'll kind of take it from there. The 10-year is kind of down, but it's like, I'd say it's flat on the day, really. The dollar's down a good bit. That's a bigger day down, the dollar. This is also looking like it's curling up, but kind of coming up into an area that has been prior resistance. So we'll be watching that bad boy. But yeah, it should be a good one. We should get some good info off Tesla. And then tomorrow, I believe, is Meta. We'll be here for that. And then we'll do a morning stream on Thursday. Today I couldn't because I had the appointment, but we'll do a morning stream on Thursday, so for the open on Thursday. But the rest of the week will be power hours. So the only position I have is still Wells Fargo. And it is actually down on the day. It was up, now it's down. Not much, though. It's on the breakout. Looking at this, I'm like, yeah, I got a nice move. I could lock something in, but I just moved my stop to break even. I'm targeting $63. So however long it takes is kind of my view for 63. We are above some key spots, and on the bigger time frames, you've got a big gap up towards like 64. So I really don't see why we can't get there based on the charts. So that's what the target is, 63. And yeah, we'll take it from there. We'll see what happens. It would have to come down a good bit and really, really back test, which it could do. But that would be what would stop me at break even. I was looking at Delta Airlines today for a potential trade. I don't think I definitely, I'm not saying definitely, I'm not going to get in this one today. Maybe that's my mistake. I think the opportunity will be there tomorrow if I want to rethink that and get in. I just didn't love the volume that I saw the first half of the day. That's the only thing. Now the volume was kind of, it's coming in, like it's not bad. It's good. We're getting there. Just didn't love the first half of the day volume. So, and we still got 30 minutes to go, 35 minutes to go. But that was kind of my view. And if we close above this breakout point, cool. Anything could happen. I don't anticipate Delta Airlines being a candidate for massively gapping up. So I think under $50 would still be good to get in. And then I would adjust the trade from there. So we'll see. But that may be a tomorrow thing. The only problem is when I zoom out to the 4-hour chart, you just have this, these upper little wicks here that happened in I want to say it was pre-market or after hours a while back. Yeah, it was pre-market back on the 10th. So a little bit of resistance, in the mid to upper 40s, which is kind of why I'm a little skeptical of it. But I like how it's holding up. It's looking good. So overall, I mean, that's a valid trade, I think, to me. But we'll see if I want to get in tomorrow. Not as clean of a look at. To be honest, I like the Wells Fargo better, so I was like, I'm not going to enter this one today. I'm just going to leave what I have on Wells Fargo and just leave it alone. So JetBlue bottoming out. Let's take a look. JetBlue has been one of the weaker airline stocks, but the sector's been doing pretty well. They had earnings today. I mean, the problem is that you have a big, it's earnings, right? You had earnings reaction. You filled the gap. So I like that in the low 6s. If it holds 6, that could be good. As long as 6 will hold. Yeah. I mean, higher low here, cool. But now we got this earnings. I don't know. That's the only problem is I got this earnings gap down. Skeptical. And it's been a bigger picture downtrend, though, on the bigger time frames, which is a little concerning, but the sector's looking good, so. Problem I have with these things, though, is like JetBlue, for example, in a sector that's going down, that's dropping, or in a sector that's going up, the stock is doing the opposite, bigger time frames. And now, okay, you can zoom in here. It looks very good, but it's weak. There are stronger stocks. For example, Delta is like a really strong looking name. LUV is Southwest. That's not that strong. But maybe it's putting in inverse head and shoulders, right? Maybe. That's not that strong, so I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't like that. American Airlines, not nearly as strong. United Airlines, way stronger after earnings. So if there's two stocks I'd be looking at more for the upside, to be honest, would be more of like from a momentum side, would be more of the Delta and Uniteds. And if you're looking for a dip buy, then you have all those other guys are better dip buy trades, I think. So just depends upon the style. Financials are up again. XLE is up a little bit. How's oil? Oil's up 1.5% today. Silver's up a little bit. Gold's down but kind of flat. Bitcoin's down but kind of pretty much flat. Short of a firm and TQs. Now, if we are gonna, firm, nice bounce off of the 30-ish area. Firm needs to like break this trend to the downside. Now, you kind of have this right here, which is a little bit wonky, so it's not perfect. But they got earnings coming up in a couple of weeks in early May. That's the trend, generally speaking, that I'd want to see break for you to go long. But until that, you're trending down. QQQ. Let's check out this. Now, if you are looking at the opposite, let's see what the volume profile to load up here to get a better view of this. But I would suspect that you're going to have a little bit of a volume node right here, right north of where we're at, which is not a bad idea. I'm going to guess there's going to be something there. Let's see if it loads up. I don't know why it's... Oh, there it is. Yeah, a little something. Nothing crazy, but a little something right here. So this is a spot that if we don't have a lot of strength to break through to go higher, then this would be a spot that I would say could be a good pullback zone from around 427 or so. Above 427, you're looking at a move maybe into the mid 430s, 437 maybe on the Qs. And then that's just looking at the bigger time frames. But the thing is, Tesla is not a massive mover. What is Tesla's weight? I'm going to look at the holdings in QQQ. That's in there. Tesla is a 2.6. 2.62% of QQQ is Tesla, which is decent. It's not insane. It's a decent little bit. So I wonder what the reaction will be across the other guys, you know, depending upon Tesla earnings. We've seen in the past, like I didn't realize Costco is up there. It's a top 10 holding, top 10 weight in Qs. Yeah, you've seen in the past Tesla's playing the game of like sometimes the market really cares, sometimes it doesn't. I wonder how the market will react to that. If a big move, I wonder if we'll get a big, you know, sway. ALK. Alaska Air, that also looks very strong relative, like compared to the other airlines we're just looking at. Earnings is behind them. They reacted positively to earnings. Stock is pushing back in an uptrend since November, which the market is in general. JBlue, they don't fly Boeings, they fly Air. Yeah, that's another one of those things. I was just listening to something about that today. Because I haven't followed that close to it. You pull up Boeing. I haven't followed a lot of that stuff very close, but a lot of that is super sketch, man. Super sketch, the stuff that I'm hearing out of Boeing. Really sketch. And I'm like, oh man, it just sounds messed up. But would that be tradable? This looks beautiful. If we break under 167, I mean, an absolutely beautiful bear flag setting up. Very tight, very weak, right? In a downtrend. Great. Problem is that little E right there. I will never trade and I will never hold through an earnings, which is tomorrow. So that's good. That's tomorrow. So we're going to know how that reacts. The problem is that you have a potential for, you know, a massive gap down off of that and then a miss of the entry point. Let me just line this bad boy up. That's close enough. A miss of the entry point, which I think this could be really good, dude. Like this could be like underneath 167. Oh man, yeah. I think that that could be really good downside on Boeing. And I would say like you really are just like, this is just a range. Rough. Okay, it's rough, not perfect. I'm not perfect with that, but rough. And right now you're in the middle of the range. You are just straight up from looking at this, you're in the middle of the range. With that, you know, we are trending down, you know, maybe, and we were just at the top of the range, so chances are probably better that we do this, if I had to guess. But, you know, do I like to trade the middle of the range? I don't, really. And then you add earnings in there. If earnings is not involved, Boeing would be an amazing short setup. That as long as I would just be waiting for it to break. Once it would break this level, I'd enter and we'd be good to go. And we'd hope for the, I mean, just either works or doesn't work. And I mean, that's it. So that's it. Problem is that tomorrow earnings, I assume they're in the morning, I believe. So we'll either be gapping up or gapping down off of that. Looking at oil for a long, sketches me out. Yeah, yeah, it's sketching me out because I was actually thinking the opposite a couple of days ago. I think on Friday. I think I was talking about that. I was like, oh man, it doesn't look good because big spike came right back down. I'm like, oh, this looks like it's going to break this thing and go. But it kind of broke the lows from last week, but snapped back and caught the buyers, and now it's bouncing back up. So it just kind of sketches me out. I don't know. Oil's at a spot where I'm not interested right now. I don't know. The logical spot to pull back, though. I mean, it pushed up, pulled, Like if it bounces here, like logical, like could be very, very nice just to stay within the trend. But I don't know, the upper wick is just kind of sketchy, and it's technically in a downtrend the past couple of days or past like 2 weeks or so. You technically have this downtrend now, so I think it's a good play to avoid that. You don't have to do anything, That's been one of the things I have definitely taken more seriously. Like just saying, like, yeah, I don't have to do anything, I don't have to do that. And it's been good. Like there's some days like yesterday or today too. Today. I was driving back today. I was like, like I'm super happy with the ability to not have to not feel like I have to do shit. From like, oh, I gotta be in something. I gotta trade now. Now the reality is that my trade size I think is still too small. But we're working on that, and as the year progresses, the plan is to just slowly increase that. So by the end of the year, the plan is that the size will be very, very, very nice, a very comfortable size for me that I'm good with, where like I feel like, okay, yeah, like if this, it works out and or it doesn't work out, like we're talking about a dollar amount that like I'm comfortable with versus like I was kind of dealing with, and I kind of have been for a while. The dollar amounts are just not, I'm not enough. Like it's not meaningful. And I don't mean that in like a bitchy way. I mean that as like, it's the same thing. You're trading the same strategy. It's the same. If I was just doubling or tripling my size the past year, it would be the same. Like I'd have the same, you'd think, right? The same win rate, same risk reward. I would just now have a larger profit, But you can't forcefully push that, I don't think, at least, because then it's like easily to mess the mental up. So you have to kind of ease into it, and then you start to kind of establish a dollar amount that you're good with. And once you're good with that, you kind of stick there for a bit, and then you can push a little farther. And okay, once you're good with that, you stick there for a bit, and you prove to yourself that you're good. And then eventually you get to a point. I was just thinking about this before, because this book I'm reading was talking about one of the best ways to achieve goals that you have is simply decrease the significance and the importance of the goal. Because when you increase the significance and the stakes and the importance of that goal, what ends up happening is now you have these doubts subconsciously in your head because it's a tough goal, because I don't know if I can do it. And because you have those doubts, now you're going to be fighting almost an uphill battle to achieve the goal versus I want to do this, and I'm going to do this, or I'm going to take necessary steps to get to this, and it is what it is. I don't really I don't want to care too much. I want that. That's what I'm going to do. Simple. I don't need to have, oh, this thing is so precious to me that it's like, because then you build up this like whole mental barrier without even realizing it, and you're just fighting. You're just literally fighting up a battle that you didn't need to fight. And now all these other problems arise, and you mentally are getting caught up in the P&Ls and stuff. It's like, so my view is like, once you reach a level, hence why they say your first 100K is the hardest, but as you achieve higher levels in whatever, it could be anything, but we're talking trading, in wealth accumulation or trading profits or a goal or like your account, as you achieve higher levels of that, you start to like almost get desensitized from the dollar, because now a winning, a good week or a good month is more than you can potentially need, for example. So if you're in that level, when you get to that level of that, you don't, what's the importance of getting from $1 million to 10? Who gives a fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. From going from making $1 million a year to 10 is not a big deal. Like, you have probably most things that you could probably want and need right at $1 million, and getting to 10, but going from nothing to 100K, right? That's big, because once you're at 100K, okay, now you can pretty much, that's, more than well above the average salary in the US and stuff. Okay, like you're in a good spot. But we're just talking if that's your only income. But getting there, right? Like you want to get there because that's like this big thing. but it's so much harder to get there because you have this significant like increased importance on getting to that level because it means all of these things are going to get better for me. So like, why does it get easier when you get high? Like when you make more money, it's just because I think really the importance drops. I don't care. You don't care because you have enough money to do pretty much whatever you want. The levels you achieve, so then it doesn't matter. So that's why it's easier to then have bigger and bigger days or weeks or months or years, whatever, from a dollar perspective. So that was that's me expanding upon the book. The book is not about money, but it's me expanding upon that and like bringing it and relating that into this, for example, which that was pretty cool. Become super focused on a goal, you can develop tunnel vision. And that's the thing too. Then you start finding yourself like not even under like just in your own lane, which is not necessarily a bad thing all the time, but then you there's a lot of shit going on around you that you're not even paying attention to. Okay, Wednesday, nothing crazy tomorrow. Durable good orders. Okay, cool. Thursday, GDP. So we got GDP on Thursday. That is big. We have jobless claims as well. That's big. That will be pretty nice in the morning. And then we'll have, I believe in the afternoon, a couple of other tech earnings coming up. If that wasn't enough, PCE is on Friday. What PCE? That. Big inflation data right there. This is good data. Market's going to react to that in a manner, up or down, but one would suspect in a decent size manner if the numbers are way off projections. Like I said before, I'm sorry if I have like a lisp, but it'll get better. We have the new Invisalign, or whatever you want to call them, retainers or whatever. The cartridges, I don't know. I just got them today. Show. Better than my, much better than the old ways, I think, of doing retainers and braces, for sure. Not that I really needed anything super drastic, but we're going to fix my bite, fix my teeth a little bit, make it a little more optimal, and, we're going to be good. Everything is going to work out. SMH, we had big breakdown, bouncing back, but what really happened here was, I mean, you filled this gap pretty much. Not perfect, but you filled a lot of it, which is good. And now it bounced. I'm going to say it's good. It is. It's not really good or bad. I didn't trade that, so it just is. But it bounced, and now it's coming back up. So we'll see if the market reacts positive next couple of days, earnings and stuff. I wonder if we'll get a push up towards the 220 area, 219, 220, up into here. And then we'll retest that, either pull back or, bounce right through. We'll see. We will see. But we have about 15 minutes or so until the close. The 10 years chilling at 4.6. 15 minutes until close, and then we'll be good. But yeah, the Wells Fargo trade, I might as well talk about that. Again, the Wells Fargo trade, nothing to do. We're just in. We're long. And we're waiting for a PT to be hit. That's it. Got to about 61.75 today, roughly. And which is good, it's cool, but pulled back a bit from there. My target 63. And either we break even or we hit that target. The P&L, I think on this one, if target hits, we're talking over $200 of P&L, which is fine. But again, my same thing that I was going back to is like, I still think that's kind of low because again, when you start swinging, you allow, I think, the position size to increase because now you're going to be in positions for days and not minutes or hours, which $200 in 10 minutes, kind of nice, right? Like, oh, that's pretty good, right? You'd think from an hourly, from time spent perspective, but $200 across or $250 across 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, it's like, well, maybe I could have sized a little bit larger, right? Because that doesn't make that much sense. Now, you got to be careful because you don't want to be too wonky. You got to keep your sizing consistent. I'm not going to just all of a sudden change it up, but we're going to start to make that progression here. Tilted Towers. And whenever I see TLT, now I was never a big Fortnite guy. I played back in the day. I haven't played in so long, but Tilted Towers was always. It's not where I went, but when I was like, let's just fucking go, it was Tilted Towers, and we would send it in there. So whenever I see TLT, just because like it just makes me. I just think Tilted Towers like immediately. Like that's all my mind thinks of. Just checking these charts. Still, you still like. I'm looking at them and like you still don't have. I don't see any momentum opportunities up for me. No, like the only ones maybe would be like. I think Google is kind of there. You've got Google. Yeah, if that's the strongest, sure, but. I don't know. Google's been wonky. I haven't really traded it that much. It's not been a huge fan. But all the other charts are not like we're not pushing up on resistance and breaking consolidations. So it's going to take time to get a lot of these things, I think, to reset up. If we are going north, let's say, in the coming weeks, I think it's going to take some time, I think, post earnings season for these charts to set back up to be maybe playable again. So that's what I see. And not really, there's no rush. I don't really care. But yeah, like there's some, you took some pretty big hits to the downside the past couple of weeks. So it's going to take some time to reset back up to the north side. I think, honestly, if anything, if the bounces that we've been getting now are not sustained, there's a lot more opportunities to the downside on a lot of charts that I'm seeing. So the trade setups, if we start to push down, there'll be some good trade setups to the downside, which I'll be potentially interested in. Like this GameStop. If it breaks below $10, could be good. Just going through some more charts really quick. Let's see what else we got. It looks good. I was going through them earlier, and same thing. I just didn't find much. Yeah, that's what the Delta Airlines was the only one that I was like, oh, this could be good. And maybe it is, but not like loving the volume and the price actions. So I'm just going to leave it alone, see what happens tomorrow. And maybe play tomorrow, but probably not. Always go tilted. And I used to hate the action too. Generally, I hate the action. I would be like, no, I'm not doing this. All right, so we got about 10 minutes to go until Tesla or till the market closes. And then I'd imagine Tesla earnings are going to be like within the next five minutes after that. So we'll see what the reaction is, and then we'll call it a day. How about that? I have not logged in here in so long, I feel like. Let's see what we got. Worst performer in the S&P, down 40% year to date. Is that year to date? Is that really? Is that how it's really been? Oh, maybe, yeah. Because the beginning of the year was up here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really bad. It's down over 40% year to date. That's true. I didn't realize it was that much. It's a lot. Now, that is what I would say. Like, my expectation of NVIDIA will be one day, like, it will probably be something like this, where who knows where we are. Are we here? Are we here? Are we here on NVIDIA? Are we like somewhere in here? Who knows where we are? But my thought process is, had an insane run, the thing just multiplied by 1 million, and now you're probably going to go through a period of time where it's just not going to be a spot where you're going to see insane increases in valuations and whatever. insane appreciation, like the massive appreciation of the stock, I think is most of it has already occurred. I could be totally wrong, but when you capitalize on a massive move like that, way above normal, way outlier XYZ, right, based off of history, chances are that you're gonna go through a period. Now the thing that's crazy about this is that Tesla was one of those stocks that in good environments would do very, very well. In bad environments, it could do pretty bad, but then it would have its like times where it would just kind of do its own thing. And even if it was down when things were bad, it would come right back stronger than ever when we started to turn the corner. That's not happened in the past. Now you're talking 2.5 years. It's been 2.5 years of a downtrend. So for everyone who was going nuts about how Tesla's the best, making all their money on Tesla, oh, I just invested in Tesla. And you on paper did very, very well through late 2021, but since then, let's say you accumulated $1 million in Tesla stock. That $1 million is now 65% less. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no way to know when the top's going to be, but it just kind of goes to show my view of the whole thing of like when you have got outlier gains like that, de-risk, take some off the table, put it in something that's more stable, put it in the S&P, sell covered calls. Even if you're in Tesla, dude, you could be if you were selling covered calls. Now, of course, you could have been getting blown out. It could have been great. You could have been making some money if you've been selling covered calls this whole way down. Great, you're probably making a few bucks, I would think. But there's dangers in that too. If you're being careful and selling way out the money, you're just cash flowing a few dollars, so you're not really going to be making up for a lot of the decline. But something. Yeah, and it was a massive retail. Go back to this time, and you can't this is the time on Tesla that you couldn't tell anybody there was a better stock to invest in. This was the one. This is where everyone was like, no, Elon's got our back. Elon's a boss. It's the best company of all time. Unlimited growth, robo-taxis. This is the best. And hey, there's no way to know when you're topping out, but when you get signs like that, it's not a bad idea to start looking around. And it's not like it's all hindsight that we're talking in. We're not talking in like, oh, there's no way, because there's no way to know, But heavy retail favorite, boom. I don't know if Nvidia definitely does not have the same hype retail wise that Tesla did. I don't think, or maybe not yet. Maybe it's got more to go. And if it does, whoo, man, will Nvidia be an amazing stock to trade on the backside? One day. Not now. Maybe soon, if the highs are in, which there's just way too early to tell. If these are the highs and we are trending down, right? It's going to be some good opportunities on the backside. Too early to say, though. Elon's a good salesman. Yeah, that's really kind of what it was. Everyone just loved him. For whatever reason, fighting back against some of the norms and this and that, and it's good. But market's a market. It figures itself out. Things eventually balance out. And there's one thing that I've recognized over the years is that things will never always go up and always go down. Now, small caps, those could go down to zero because they're shit companies. Big companies, generally speaking, are not going up forever and they're not going down forever. Generally speaking. Same with the overall S&P. That's even a better example, right? Times when it's like horrible and sentiment is terrible, and let me just pull up fear and greed. And sentiment's so bad, and it never lasts forever. Never lasts forever. Same when it's super, super greedy. That won't last forever. No, we were there for a while, but didn't last forever. A couple of months, okay. It got fearful, not that fearful, but that this will not last forever, and now we're bouncing back. So, same thing. You think of the market like a wave or an oscillation. The wave sizes will vary. There's no way to know for sure, but over time, you'll get the bounce back, or you get the, dip. Never get too high, never get too low. That's what I say. And it's always good to always, like, in the moment think about that. Like, I was just talking to my brother about this too, and it's kind of the same concept. A lot of us don't think, and I mean that in like a not a dick way. Like, I don't have the time to. You just do. Like, you're just in the routine. You're doing this. This is what I do, and that's it. But like, you sometimes take a step back. Like, what am I doing today? Why do I want to do this? Is it pushing me or getting me towards where I want to be? And you don't really think about a lot of that stuff. But my brother was saying the same thing. It was like, he's kind of going through college right now, and he's like deep into engineering classes and whatever. And I'm like, and he's telling me, oh, he's so fucked. This class sucks, and this just got rocked by Stokes' theorem and this and that. And I'm like, I remember those days, because I took essentially the same classes he's taking, outside of like our major specific classes, but like all the main math and physics and science stuff, I had to take all that stuff that he's in. And he's getting rocked by this and that, Calc 3, whatever the class is called. And I'm like, it was terrible. But the biggest thing is he's like, oh man, it sucks. I got, however many more years of this, because he's going for his MBA. And I'm like, dude. Well, do you want the MBA? Or is that just something that you think based off of what people tell you is a good idea? You know what I mean? If you're going to be absolutely miserable, failing classes, spending your entire life at school, hating everything, you're missing out on opportunities that you get at college, because that's what I think the biggest benefit of college really is. The social opportunities and that stuff. Doing things, and finding people and meeting, that's what's cool about it. The classes and stuff, it's not going to be fun, usually, most of the time. But if it's really terrible and you hate it so much, like, dude, you don't have to be doing that. Like, if you don't have to go for an MBA if you hate the subject. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, it's cheap because it's, in-state and whatever. I'm like, oh, yo. That's not a reason. Like, that's not you saying I want this. That's you being like, people are telling me I should do this, so I should probably do that, right? That's not, in my opinion, dude. That's not how to live your life. If that's the one thing I go back, if I regret something, which doesn't matter, it's too late anyway. Who cares? But if there's something I regret, it would be listening too much to others and not listening to myself. And you can't blame yourself, because I didn't try. When you're young, you don't trust yourself enough. You build that trust over time. But that is one of the biggest things. If I could go back, I'd be like, yeah, man, like, I don't know if I definitely would go back. I don't want to talk about college again, because for those who know the story, know the story. But I probably wouldn't have gone. Looking back, who knows where I would be right now, though, because that all led me to this point. But there's an alternate, I guess, reality that maybe I didn't go, and where would I be? Who knows? But think for yourself. I think people say it's cliche, like, trust your gut, but trust yourself, have more confidence in yourself for making decisions. Like, not because you're going to be right and it's be better for you necessarily from like a outside looking in perspective, but from the fact that it'll make you happier. Simple as that. So Tesla here, we got about a minute or so, less than a minute, 2 seconds. Market's closed and earnings are coming out. We'll see what happens. We'll get the reaction, hopefully. Look at some of those numbers and we'll go from there, man. We'll see what happens. People that overly think only for themselves. Yeah, it depends. Like, I think about it like there's a selfishness, but people say, oh, you're too selfish. No, I don't think you can ever really be too selfish, because you being selfish is setting you up so that you can then be there for others, or for, if you're not what you want, like if you're not the best version of you, in my opinion, then you can't be anything for anybody else. You're useless to anybody else into society if you can't, if you're not happy with what you're doing and yourself and stuff. That's my view. Better way to live too, I think. And you could be very unselfish around and to others. Doesn't mean that you are like that, but it's like, I think that's like a building block. People always say like, oh, there's times where you go through periods of times where you're really, really selfish about your time, energy, and whatnot. And that's fair too. I think that's part of life. But you do that almost to become more available for others and for whatever other reasons later on. You know, whether that's family, you know, whatever. Yeah, there's a bunch of earnings coming out today or in the next couple hours. Tomorrow morning, a couple more we have, and then tomorrow afternoon there's Meta, which will be pretty good to see. I'm curious how that's going to go. Was Spotify this morning? I think Spotify was this morning. Yeah, Spotify was this morning. Big move, and then it kind of gave it all back, or gave a lot of it back by the end of the day. So Tesla we're going to get here soon. Don't mind Tesla bag holding friends. May God be with you. Gotta love it. All right, well, probably another, give it, I would say 4 or 5. We'll probably get it. You know, the hair has been growing out. It's been a month since I got a haircut. I used to be going every 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks sometimes. Back when I had it shorter, but now I'm, boom, holy shit. That must have been something. Earnings must be out or whatever. But yeah, we're growing it out, so we're going to see what happens. Tesla spiked up initially, I guess, off the first reaction to like almost 151. Now it's right back to where it closed. We'll see what happens. Going to go north, south, east, or west from here. I guess it really can only go 2 ways. But haven't seen anything come out yet on the news streamer that I have either. It's not the most efficient and fastest news streamer, I'll tell you that. But may have sold Bitcoin. Rumors. Would be funny if it does, if they do. I haven't seen it come out yet. Something had to have come out because it's moving. Oh, holy shit, it's up a lot. Well, it's up 5%. That high hit 5%. Kind of wonky though. I haven't seen anything official. Now here's something. I don't know how much you can trust some of these though. Sales didn't beat. EPS also didn't beat. So 2 misses technically, if we're going off of that. But this is revenue. Beat on revenue. Missed on revenue, missed on EPS. But these numbers, everyone's got fucking different numbers, dude. Tesla sees notably lower volume growth rate for 2024. They're accelerating the launch of new models. They want to include the new affordable one. Updated our future vehicle lineup. Revenues came in under estimations. And EPS, adjusted EPS also came in under expectations. So kind of missed on revenue and EPS, but doesn't really mean, I'm not the freaking fundamental guy, and we, as we know, that doesn't mean jack shit. From the price action is price action, you know. The reaction's a reaction. Do I even care about this? No, I really don't. Like, this stuff doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Why, you may ask? Because I don't invest in individual stocks and I only care about price action. That's it. My strategy is not based off of, oh, I think Tesla's going to be good this year because they have a new vehicle lineup and I don't fucking give a shit. Doesn't matter. Maybe someone else does, not me. So it's really irrelevant. But price is up 5%. It was up like 7 or 8 for a second there. Well, initial reaction is positive, but it's early. Very early. Curious how the new vehicles are going to come in, like the new affordable one. Curious how that'll go, how that'll come out. I think they're trying to make a car for like $30K, I believe is the number, or 29, or maybe 25. Was it 25? I don't know, something like that. It was not that bad. It was 30K, or it was under 30K, I believe. And that would be good. I mean, if they can pull that, you'll have more people driving them. The problem, again, like I always say, though, is that I just don't know if more affordable necessarily will be a big deal right now. Maybe when the economy rolls over, yeah, maybe that's the play, right? Setting that up for when the economy rolls over to be in position to have a cheaper car because no one's going to want to buy the Cybertruck or the Model 3 or the Y, the X, like if they're too expensive. Maybe that's the play. You know, I can see that. But not much of a reaction, though. Up, even though it's like a 2.5% of QQQ. Let's see what QQQ is doing. Yeah, a little pop in the after hours, but not much. It's up 0.15. S&P or SPY's up barely. It's flat. So like not really much reaction at all in those categories, or on Qs and SPY. TXN flipping, and we'll pull up that TXN right now. Texas Instruments. Boom. That's a big pop. Big pop. Right to the top of the range, too. Right up into this blue line is where it's at right now in the after hours. Right into the top of the range. That looks pretty good for if it breaks that range in the coming days and weeks or more. Liking fundamentals. Well, I think it depends upon the strategy, right? For me, I don't care for them. Like all that stuff is just these are just catalysts, you know. And that's all I need. But to a degree, you have to understand a little bit of fun. Like you're not like technicals are technicals but you have to understand a couple things, earnings, and the sector and stuff. So like, am I gonna just because the chart looks so good, trade Tesla yesterday or today because when it has earnings on Tuesday? No, I'm not going to do that. But post earnings, I'm all fair game, and it just comes down to charts, in my view. But then it adds a layer too of like, to me at least, you add the layer of conflicting things, like just like indicators. When you add too many indicators in your charts, well, one could be like looking good, and then one or two could say, I don't know, not looking good. And so when you add too many variables, I think it could be a challenge. As long as you're tracking things, though, it doesn't matter. Track it, log it, learn from it. And like we say, anything can be built into a strategy. You can build anything into a strategy, which is the coolest part about trading, I think, because you could literally do anything. If I wanted to use a strategy that involved me picking my nose and flicking it at my computer, and then that's how I set my profit targets, I could. And maybe it would work. I don't know. You know? Like, you could do whatever you want. It might sound dumb, but there could be something with the way that I flick that maybe I flick it more like when I set my profit target versus when I set my stop loss, the angle of how I flick could be different when I point down versus up, which could mean that I'm always targeting a 1.25 to 1 risk reward, which then ends up handing like, you know, as stupid as it sounds, like you can make anything into a strategy. Like you could. Love the way USL look, but the fundamentals didn't make sense. Yeah, because then you have that like, what do I do? And then you could end up overthinking it sometimes. Like you could end up in a spot where it's like, well, now I'm like, I don't really know. I'm not sure. Like I got all these conflicting things and I'm really not sure what I'm doing. And then you overanalyze. Whereas like the simple solution was technicals and fundamentals don't line up. I don't trade, right? But then you're like, and you can see how that can snowball. But I'm gonna weigh the technicals a bit more today than the fundamentals than I did yesterday, because I think it's looking good. And then you can end up saying, well, now you're not operating with the system that you were originally playing with. And then you've got a problem. Because then how do you track that over time? How do you track but I think today, over the course of longer, it's tough. That's really tough. Yeah. I think we all can be overthinkers. It's not necessarily a bad thing if you recognize that. That's what this one book I read about trading was all about, was like, emotions are great. It really was like, emotions are great. It's that the key is keeping track of it. It really comes down to the same thing. Now, I don't maybe do this as much. I don't feel like I need to. Maybe I should one day, because I'm kind of more consumed by tracking my data, my raw data as it is now. But it was like tracking your emotions, tracking how you feel when you get in, when you exit. Were you anxious? Were you sweaty? Were you this? Were you that? When you close something out, how do you feel? And understanding emotions, like and then being able to map that 2 times when you went on good runs, bad runs. And then can you find links in emotions that you were feeling prior to a bad run, a good run, right? So that you could recognize that in the future. So it's like the same thing of like, oh shit, when, a lot goes on personal life, I got this going on, or I broke up with blah, blah, blah. If you map that and say, hey, the past 2 times I had bad breakups, or I had breakups, I traded like absolute dog shit for the next month. Knowing that is going to be great, so that you can go into your broker, you can immediately drop size, or you could literally not trade, because you can say, I know I need to get over this mental thing first, right? But you don't know that until you have the data. And if you don't have the data on that, we're not likely to stop ourselves from jumping in, because we're going to be like, no, I got this. Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing to track. I really do. Advice given by Warren Buffett. Hey, Warren and I go back pretty far. Better to be detached from that's why I like the technicals, because I don't have to think about things like that. Just because I don't have to be and two, I don't trade stuff that, well, I guess I could trade the S&P technically, but I'm not really like, in the past, I would sometimes be like, hey, I invested in Tesla, and now I'm going to try to trade Tesla short, but I'm technically long. So I kind of want Tesla to go up, but right now I think it's going to go down. And so you play these games and you're like, you're just like, I don't know. And you don't realize it, but like kind of subconsciously it can throw you off. So when you can play, like if you can trade, like that's why I kind of like trading Bitcoin or gold or silver or even oil, because I do not have I give like no shits. I guess Bitcoin I hold, but I have such a small amount. But like when I trade oil, it's like I really don't care. It's like it's either it's gonna work or it's not. I really don't care what happens here. I have no I obviously know what, like you can physically like know what oil is and stuff, but like oil plays like such a small role, I feel like, in my life, that I don't care. Of course, guess gas and stuff. So if oil's going up, that means gas is going up. Okay, big shit, unless it's going crazy, like I don't really care. It's not that big of a deal. But like when you can play stuff like that where you really don't care, like when I play like certain stocks, like I'm playing Wells Fargo, for example, right now, and I've never had an account with Wells Fargo. I don't know much about, like, obviously I know, generally speaking, what they are, but like I have no attachment to it. Like there's nothing. And that's good. I like that. Because it just charts instead of me being like, well, I really think it's going to go up because banks are looking good. And like, I use Wells Fargo. Like, dude. This is how a lot of people used to do things. Like realistically, that's how people do things. Like back in the day, that's how a lot of shit was. You find stocks because you buy or you own or use the companies, and so you'd find the stock through that, and then you'd invest in those companies. It's like, well, okay, I understand the invest what you know, but at the same time, like, just because I love going to Chipotle does not mean that I should be buying Chipotle as a trade. Meanwhile, Chipotle, I believe, has earnings tomorrow. Yeah, they have earnings tomorrow. They've been crushing it. They really have. And they got a split coming up, 50-for-1. Holy shit. So what is that going to mean? Chipotle stock is going to be, I'll pull up a calc. Let's call it a $2,900 stock. Divided by 50. It's going to be a $58 stock. That's cool. That makes it a little more like, Chipotle being a $3,000 stock just doesn't make any sense to me. Why they haven't split this thing earlier. Alrighty, guys. With that said, I think I'm gonna wrap things up. Tesla's up in the after hours. They technically missed off of the top line numbers, but the stock is up about 7% at 155. We'll see what happens by tomorrow. We know this can all unravel very, very quickly. 160 was the breakdown point from a couple of days back. So has to regain that, I would say, and more to be significant. Because, only being up $10, that's great, but that's not going to do a lot for a lot of people on the option front, I would suspect. So we'll see what happens. Tomorrow we'll be back for Power Hour, last hour of the day. We'll be back on Thursday in the morning, and then Friday for Power Hour. That's the plan. Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll see you in the next one. Peace. Enjoy.